You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Tuesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire. And today we have a special guest, bringing on one of our favorites. That's Trevor Sikkema from PFF to talk a little NFL draft action. There's plenty of Michigan guys to talk about. Lots of movement. Wow. And I'm dying over here, man. So let me try to get a sentence in before I go on a coughing fit here. But so right now we've seen a lot of projections within the last 24 hours about Aidan Hutchinson not being the number one overall pick. How much veracity do you put behind these Travon Walker rumors? And if that ends up being the case, where do you expect Aidan to go?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to Aidan not going number one anymore. I think we're a lot closer to Travon Walker becoming the betting favorite at a lot of different books. It just seems like that's where we're moving. It feels like Jacksonville wants to aim for a higher athletic ceiling that I guess you're going to get with Travon Walker. But look, every time you praise Travon Walker, it always sounds like you're bringing down Aidan Hutchinson. And I just don't think that's the case. I just think Travon Walker is a little bit more athletically and physically gifted than Aidan Hutchinson. And certainly he has a long way to go as a prospect. Travon Walker, that is. He's a lot less proven than Hutchinson is, but we've seen Trent Baalke, the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars, before take a little bit more of a risk on guys who have that higher athletic ceiling. He did it a handful of times when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. And so I don't think it's a total smokescreen. I think that there's real truth to the fact that they like Travon Walker, that they're gravitating towards Travon Walker as their top pick. I believe I was told they're going to finalize the pick either Tuesday or Wednesday. So, I mean, I guess they're really coming down to the wire here. But look, if Aidan Hutchinson doesn't go number one, he's going number two. He's the perfect player for Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, whether it's the hometown feel to it, just how much of a worker this dude is, how much he truly loves football. You just got to think that he'd absolutely gel with Dan Campbell and that front office there in Detroit the second they got in a room together and really got to know each other a little bit better. So, when it comes to the tape and his production and everything, he checks all of those boxes. I thought he tested perfectly fine at the combine. And then you put the personality into the chemistry there with that organization. And I really think that it's either one or two for Hutchinson. I don't think if he doesn't go one, there's going to be this massive slide. I think he'd be the next name off.
Well, you say these things about the Detroit Lions and how he would be the number two. I have followed the Detroit Lions long enough to know that it's no sure thing. Is there a kind of middling wide receiver that they could pick at number two overall? Is there a kicker or a long snapper that maybe could go there? Can you draft an office manager at number two overall?
I'm not going to do that to the Lions. I'm not going to do that to them. They got a good pick here. I'm going to manifest a good reality for them.
Well, that said, there's obviously a couple other guys that are expected to be either first round picks or borderline. David Ojabo is probably the most intriguing because he was considered to be maybe even a top 10 pick before he tore his Achilles. And now I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts without him even in the first round. Obviously, we've seen teams get scared over any kind of injury. We saw that with Michigan guys, whether it was our good friend here, Jake Butt, who went from being a first round lock to being a fifth round pick, or same kind of deal with Mo Hurst. How much do you think that Ojabo really very well could fall significantly? Like, he's going to fall regardless because of the injury, but how significant do you think it might be?
Yeah, I think before the injury, he was something, you saw him in the teens, sometimes in the top 10, but I think that was sporadically with mock drafts, more projection, more in-season stuff when he was playing really, really well. I think that the better home base for him when he was healthy was probably somewhere in the teens. Now it looks like it's a back end of the first round, early second round kind of a selection with him. And I think the type of injury goes into it, right? Achilles injuries are tough because so much of your explosiveness has to deal with that ligament, and it has to deal with that injury. And we've seen guys before come back and just not exactly be the same, not have that kind of fearlessness, that confidence with them. Sometimes they've got those blockers in the back of their head where, they remember that feeling of what it was like when they got hurt. And sometimes guys can't get over that mental hurdle. Sometimes they can be fully healthy. They just aren't exactly the same player. And I'm not saying that that's going to be the case with Ojabo. That's just why you see him have a significant drop, potentially even to the second round, because there is that unknown. You just don't know. You look at guys like Cam Akers, running back out of Florida State, who was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams, who tore his Achilles before the season, and he was able to come back in the same season. Now, it was during the playoff run, right? But he was able to come back incredibly fast from that injury. There are guys who can heal really well and get back to form, but that's not always the guarantee. Anytime it's a major injury like that has to deal with explosiveness, which is something that was Ojabo's calling card, right? Like, that's why he was regarded as a mid-first round pick, because of how explosive he was off the ball, how much he could get into offensive linemen's chest, how he could turn the corner, attacking the outside shoulder with speed. That's what his strength was, that a lot of people were betting on. And anytime you put that into question, there's just hesitation. So I think there's still fully reason to believe that he could go at the back end of the first round. I think if the Kansas City Chiefs are staying at both 29 and 30 at the back end of the first round, they need an edge rusher. They need a long-term edge rusher that's going to help them. They can afford to wait for Ojabo to get back, whether it's October, November, heck, even let the guy take his time to December. We know the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, and they get that extra fifth-year option for him too. So that's something to consider if you're basically redshirting Ojabo this upcoming year. You want that fifth-year option on his contract. You want him to have that extra year, and you don't get that in the second round. So if you're considering an edge rusher there at the back end of the first round, I think there's good reason to believe that he could still be.
Well, the Chiefs certainly have long loved Michigan edge rushers. They have Frank Clark. They have Mike Dana. They had for a season and a half or so Taco Charlton. So they love them some Michigan edge rushers. So it would not surprise me if that ended up being his destination. Dax Hill, I think is what's really interesting about him is a lot of people really kind of weren't talking about him before the combine as being an early round guy. I feel like Mox had him kind of more like third, fourth, but then his combine really kind of catapulted him, and we're starting to see him in a lot of if not all, because I feel like I'm starting to see him more and more in the first round mocks. So what has allowed him to get up to this point where he's not necessarily a lock, but he's considered to be a first round type guy?
Yeah, I think it's the athleticism and the versatility, right? I mean, you watch some of the best plays that he's been able to put out there. He's able to cover guys in man coverage as a slot defender, which he played incredibly well this past year. He's got great range and athleticism as a potential free safety. He's that cover profile player that everybody covets, no matter what team you're playing on. I think the ball skills too are right there for him. It's not just that he has the athletic ability to get to a certain spot at a certain time. He can make plays on the ball, and I think that's really important. And I think that's why you would draft a guy in the first round, if he can impact the game with turnovers as well as his overall just coverage ability. So I have him as a top 20 player in this class. I think he's fantastic at the skill set, his versatility, everything that he brings to the table, the ceiling that he has. He's got such a great football IQ. All of this he reads so well, and I'm a sucker for good safety and just overall defensive back play, because so much of it is about working in space and timing things, putting yourself in a position where you can bait a throw to come your way, but you've still got the ability to get to where the ball is going and make a play on the ball or make a play on the receiver. Just or all of that. There's just so much that fascinates me about playing safety, that when you can play it really, really well, I think it's very valuable. So that knowledge, that IQ, that awareness, everything that he brings to the table on top of his athleticism, I think definitely puts him in consideration for the first round. I'd be drafting him in the first round if it was up to me. But, I think that he's, somewhere between that, again, fringe first, second round kind of a range.
Well, let's continue talking. There's plenty of other players that we've got to get to and see your thoughts on them. I understand as we get down into like the nitty gritty, you don't have to have that type of detail. Like if I start bringing up like, what Dalen Baldwin's considered to be, an undrafted free agent. Who's going to pick him? We're not doing that. But I do want to get your thoughts on everyone else. But before we do, listen, I got to tell you a little something about Built Bar. Whoops, I got to not hit my microphone with my hand. I got to tell you something about Built Bar. If you don't know what Built Bar is, it's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It is high protein, low calorie, low carb. It's everything that you want in a protein bar. I tend to have 2 at a time because I'm a glutton and I can't help it. But the good news is that's like 260 calories and 40 grams of protein. Try to go and find that out of a Metrics Big 100. You're going to find more calories, less protein. And guess what? They are absolutely delicious. That is why I usually eat 2 at a time. They're that good. So go to built.com, use the promo code LOCK15. That's built.com, promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off of your next order of Built Bar. Also, listen, our next partner has a product that you literally use every day. I started taking AG1 because you know what, health is important and it's good to just have everything kind of going smooth as far as vitamins and gut health, all that type of stuff. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This is a special blend of ingredients that supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. So that is why, because sometimes, you don't know what you're putting in your body in today's world as far as American nutrition, I guess is the best way I can say it. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything while still tasting good. Also supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. It costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. And the good news is the Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews. They're recommended by professional athletes, trusted by leading health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais. So right now it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/college. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/college to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, we are still here with Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus. Don't tell anyone, but I think you might be my favorite. You can't tell anybody.
Okay, I won't.
This is only like the 4th time, or the 3rd or 4th time we've had you on, but it's just like the conversation flows so easily. Not that really, we're not even really having a conversation. I'm coughing, I'm asking you one question, and then you just go. But nonetheless, all right. So there's a lot of other products. See, that's where we're at. You do an ad read and talk about products.
Kind of products, prospects. We're all shopping out here. So,
well, teams are for sure. What's interesting, and I know this is a thing that happens with running backs, that you can have a really good college career, and then when it comes to your the NFL draft, it's like, this guy was one of the best that teams had. He ran all over everybody. And then you get to the NFL combine and all that, and it's kind of like, well, I guess he was okay. And, what you see, those guys ended up being mocked pretty late. So what are your thoughts with that in mind on Hassan Haskins? Because, he's a guy who split time with Blake Corum, and he wasn't even really the star guy until Blake Corum got injured. We've seen him kind of be the star guy over the previous 2 years, but not really. And then he really kind of took over, and we saw a lot of aspects of his game that seems like NFL teams would love. Yet when I look at these, you have to look at a 7-round mock to really see him go anywhere. So what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think the big reason why is, he's splitting time with Corum. Why? Because Corum's a better athlete. And that's what the case is going to be in the NFL. And that's not to say that Hassan Haskins is not going to have a role for teams in the NFL. I think that he certainly can. When you look at his frame, over 6 feet tall, almost 230 pounds, that tells you that he's a power back right there. He had a 94th percentile bench press reps. He was high 20s, I think. And so, like, it just shows you the strength that the guy has. And when you pop on the tape, you see the strength that this guy has. He's got some of the best contact balance that we saw in college football this past year. But there's a reason why he was complimented with a Blake Corum and why you were more excited, I would say, to get the ball in the Corum's hands because of what he could do with his athleticism. Just that allurement is not going to be the case with Haskins. But he could be somebody who, whether it's short yardage work, third down work, because I think he's got a great frame and he's got a great profile to be a good blocker as well. That money down kind of a player who can be a power back in a rotation. I think that still is going to be the case for him in the NFL. I don't think that place goes away just because he's jumping up in level of competition, especially given the fact that I think his height, his weight, his strength, everything, all of that projects well to him holding up at the next level. It's not like this is a smaller back whose strength was good enough in college, but you worry about it in the NFL. I don't worry about that. Is it going to be a 3-down back workhorse kind of a skill set for Haskins? No, I don't think that's the case. Might he bounce around the NFL a little bit throughout his career? Yeah, that's probably the career that I see for him. But I do think that coaches are going to love his profile that he brings. And as teams go more and more to running backs by committee, his role in hopefully a man blocking scheme, gap scheme, kind of an offensive line and run game is going to play to his advantage. He's a power back, but he does those power things really well.
And let's not forget, and this is my plea to NFL teams, if you draft Hassan Haskins, he promises at least one hurdle a game because that's what he does. So, okay, we'll finish out here, but there's obviously a lot of other Michigan guys to be on the lookout for. So let me just name the rest of them as far as my memory can serve. And what I want to know from you is there anyone of this group that's gonna be in the NFL draft that might surprise people about where their placement is, whether it's for better or for worse? I mean, so obviously you can go with a couple names, but obviously we got Josh Ross, the linebacker, Chris Hinton, the defensive tackle, Andrew Stuber, the right tackle, who probably is more of an interior guy, Vincent Gray, the cornerback, Dalen Baldwin, the wide receiver, and I'm missing at least Brad Hawkins, and I feel like that's about it. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but I think that's about it. So when you think about those guys, is there anyone that you think could be a surprise guy that could go higher or should go higher, or is there anyone there that maybe people are thinking is going to be a mid-round type guy that could go much lower?
Well, I think that Andrew Stuber is probably the best to what you're talking about there because he is a big, strong offensive lineman. You're right. The athletic limitations means he's probably not going to stick a tackle in the NFL. He's probably going to be much more of an interior guy, but he could be a nice rotational guy or maybe even earn a starting role one day as an interior player. So I think I see him more as a backup just because of the athletic limitations, but if you stick him in a phone booth, if you will, on that interior, I think you could like the results. And so if that's where he's finding a home, I think the power profile to him, again, if he's in a man blocking run scheme, then I think that he could survive plenty. If you've got this guy doubling up on duo blocks and power concepts, then I think that he could survive a little bit there and he could give you some good return. I like Brad Hawkins. I understand he's not the best athlete in the world, but I think he's very versatile. I think he's smart. I think he understands what he's seeing. I think he could be a good special teams player for you. So I don't know if Brad Hawkins gets drafted. I am hoping that he's a late day 3 guy because I do like the idea of him as a special teams kind of depth chart anchoring defensive back who can play a variety of different spots for you on the back end as a rotational safety. So those would be the 2 names that bringing all those names to the table, those are the ones that stand out.
Now, funny thing about Brad Hawkins is his career, it took to this point. This is me. I'm going into my 8th year covering Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
On my TV upstairs, I have it connected to my Google Photos, which is the screensavers that it brings up.
Sure.
Is all the pictures that I took in my first year unedited. So there's 2015, Jim Harbaugh's first year. I've got all these pictures of Brad Hawkins visiting as a recruit in 2015. And only now is he leaving the program in 2022.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
I mean, that happens when you reclassify, you go 5 years of playing in a program. Like it's unbelievable. And I pull up, it's like, oh, wow. Because then you start thinking about other guys that I covered their entire careers or whatever at Michigan, and they've been in the NFL for a while. And nope, not Brad Hawkins. He's still biding his time.
Still sticking around. Michigan man through and through.
Anyway, all right, Trevor. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time and breaking down some NFL draft stuff with us. I hope people are getting excited because I feel like the excitement about the NFL draft, despite how many Michigan guys could go in it, has been kind of low this year compared to others. But
I think it's just a different type of hype. You know, I think instead of the hype for believing that this class is going to be generational, which I don't think anybody believes, the mystery of who's going to get picked where is more prevalent than ever this year. And I think that's the exciting part about it. I think people are complaining about it because as much as they say they like mystery and chaos and uncertainty, it makes them nervous. But I'm just excited for it. That gets me excited. I don't know what name is going to come out of Roger Goodell's mouth for every single team. I have my guesses, but this point last year, we knew like the first 4 names were going to be in the draft. And this year we don't. And I think that's exciting. That's going to be a cool reason to watch.
Well, don't be surprised if your name comes out of Roger Goodell's mouth with the number 2 overall pick from the Detroit Lions.
I'll take it. I could probably be a punter, and that's about it. But look, I'll take it. I'll take the contract.
All right. Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, Isaiah. Anytime, man.
It's Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus. Super excited every time he is on the show. All right. We are going to continue on, but before we do, listen, betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's finish out here. Let's not take too long here because we're already getting up there in time. So I do want to touch upon some basketball things because we saw in the last 48 hours we kind of are getting a little bit of idea of the complexion of what this team may or may not be, although it's still not sure. I think the big news obviously is Hunter Dickinson announcing on Sunday that he is coming back. Which isn't a surprise if you kind of been reading the tea leaves. I know he was a guy that was considered to be like his intention was to be like a one and done or a two and done. And it sounds like NIL is kind of saving the day for Michigan. And the fact that he is the one of the 3 that is coming back is huge for sure. But then you also have the uncertainty of what Moussa Diabate and Caleb Houston are doing. But the good news is, particularly with Diabate, is that he did not hire an agent, so he can get his feedback and he can come back if he doesn't get the type of grade that he wants. I expect that Caleb Houston probably won't, and I feel like Diabate, I feel like he'll probably not be quite where he had hoped or expected to be too and come back. And then you consider that Michigan very well could be adding Terrence Shannon, the Texas Tech transfer, as your guard. I mean, suddenly you're looking at a really stacked lineup. Now, granted, some of these guys got to get better. If Caleb and Moussa do come back, they're going to have to be more consistent. Moussa's got to not foul out all the time, number one, or not foul out, but get early fouls all the time, and which relegates him to the bench. Caleb Houston needs to be a little less streaky, and that will probably come in year 2, right? Like, it doesn't mean that he's going to, for sure, like, year over year be that much better, but, he needs to find his stroke and keep it to some degree. We tend to see guys like him, whether it was Jordan Poole or Franz Wagner, tend to be a lot better in year 2 than they were in year 1. So if you have that, then you got Terrence. You still got Frankie Collins, and you could play Terrence and Frankie Collins next to each other because obviously you lose Eli Brooks and Devontae Jones. but and then you still have all these other guys that you're just like expecting to take that step forward, whether it's Kobe Buffkin or Jace Howard. I mean, they've just, Will Shetter, and you hope that Terrence Williams is kind of ready to really take that next big step. And you still have the guys that are coming in from this last year, Terrace Reed and Doug McDaniel and all of these guys. So it really, honestly, this could be a really special team, especially with the sense of it kind of feels like maybe bringing the band back together for the most part. You lose some leadership, but you still have a lot of experience. And I think that this team could be really pretty incredible when you think of it that way. So, all right, we're going to keep it that short. Thank you for watching and or listening. We will be back preferably on Wednesday. But I'm not really sure that I'll be able to get one done on Wednesday because I'm going to be out of the office all day. So for sure on Thursday, we will get to a mailbag. And then we'll try to get that out before the NFL draft. And then we'll certainly have some NFL draft reaction stuff. So, all right, that is going to do it for us. So thanks again for watching and or listening. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.